I'd like to thank you for allowing me into your homes for this 12th edition of Season 3 of Esoteric Science Roundtable. And I would like to start by thanking everyone that took the time and trouble to come out to the metaphysical and philosophical meetings that Jeff Contreras from Therefore I Am and we here at Esoteric Science Roundtable co-host every third Wednesday of each month. And we had a very good crowd come out, and again, thankful to everyone that took the time to come out and share and exchange during that time. And let's see, I would like to also begin by making a quick announcement related to Mike Hansen. Some of you may know Mike Hansen is the producer for Alex Jones here, and an individual who is also running for public office, for Precinct 4 County Constable. And coming up real quick will be the elections, March 9th. And so all folks that are interested in offering their support to Mike Hansen should start to think at this time, because this is the crucial time getting close to the elections, that we have to start offering support to individuals that I would hope that we would offer support to individuals that are working selflessly and tirelessly for the community and for no special interest save to help and serve, which according to my understanding, is what public office and public service is all about initially anyway. And so if we can have folks in that are truly going to be helping out all individuals in this area, then that's, I think, in our best interest. And Mike Hansen certainly fits that bill as far as offering of his time and effort to help others, and shows that and demonstrates that time and time again. So I want to encourage folks to remember Mike Hansen, and he especially now needs volunteers to help him put signs up, especially south and east, close to the precinct that he's running in, and so that we can, garner some interest and attention, and so that getting closer to the election, people can be aware of what they can do. And also, if you want to help Mike in any way, he's always in need of people that can, do different things to help him in his endeavor. So these numbers are good numbers to reach Mike, and leave a message, or if you get a hold of him, let him know what your interests are and how you can be of service to this endeavor to, again, help Mike get elected, perhaps, and at the very least spread a good message during his campaign, at the very least, which is my hope as well. Okay, to get into this evening's discussion, I want to discuss the topic Etheric Energy and what that topic means to us as humanity, and how it's very relevant and valid, and it's a good point of concern right now in this day and age, and there are a lot of reasons why it should be a point of focus for our efforts in this time. And to briefly get into what the etheric body is initially, when we think of the dense physical body, the more we understand, either through psychological, delvings into the mind of man and the workings of the mechanisms that are us as humanity, or different physiological aspects of man, or what have you, we start to realize the processes that make us who we are, and the energy underlying the dense physical body, and that is traditionally known as the etheric body. And certainly we also have an emotional nature and a mental nature that science takes into consideration and fully concedes exists and is a part of every human. It's a part of our human experience. But the energy underlying the dense physical is a vital key aspect of our being that helps us keep our health intact, and it helps us with many different areas as far as communicative endeavors with our fellow men and with all living things for that matter. And this underlying energy connects us with all living things by virtue of this network of light that is like a substructure, or like a foundation to the physical. And in the Bible, the etheric body is spoken of as a golden bowl. And if we can consider that analogy a bit, it's kind of appropriate, because the bowl is what, is the something that can be filled, and that's how our physical body essentially fills in, and it conforms to the bowl. The liquid conforms to the bowl just in the same sense that our physical dense nature conforms to an energy body. And this network of energy that is like a spider web throughout our body, and again underlies the dense physical. Also, it's the basis for our nervous system, and it's this electrical impulse and exchange that our sensory apparatus are based upon this etheric nature, upon this energy nature, and also the glands, and then the so-called centers, the so-called chakra or energy centers, are also tied in and based in with this energy system. And if we think again about just different fibers of light intersecting, there are certain key points where there are energy nodes, and in the East they're called nadis. And these basic little knots of light, these little intersections of light, again make up this interconnectivity, this framework, this lattice work that is underlying our physical nature. And it also is the same concept that follows suit with our globe, in the sense that we have ley lines, or sometimes ley lines, different names that apply for the same different connecting points. These lines that connect to points on the globe very much corresponds to what we have available in the physical body. And so we can understand more about this energy and how keeping the flow of energy through our bodies and throughout all of this globe, as far as that's concerned, is something that should really be of concern to individuals, because this is what, again, is a basis for health, the healthy body, ability to communicate, and ability to exchange at the intuitive and more in an abstract way. And this is something that's going to be more relevant and more important to us as we progress and evolve. And certainly certain circumstances are pressing that forward in a fast fashion. And so it's a good current relevant thing for us to consider. Now again, considering our magnetic nature, we exchange electromagnetically, and it's things as simple as interacting and exchanging with other people. We can see certainly, the attraction between certain individuals, or the repulsion between other individuals. And that is the law of attraction. Like attracts like, and things of that nature. And so we find our electromagnetic nature being part of this exchange, and how we interact. It's really the basis of how we interact and how we vibe out other individuals, how we vibe out certain situations, and how we either trust our intuition or ignore our intuition and suffer for the lack of doing that. But when we can keep our electromagnetic nature whole and intact, and keep it vibrant, then that's an example of a good, healthy person. And you'll see that people that exemplify health, if you could see their etheric body, you would see that it's very whole and intact and very vibrant. And there aren't any tears or anything like that in it, because that can take place as well, that there can be rips or tears in the etheric that can lead to dis-ease and psychosis and different unhealthy aspects that can manifest inside the body. And so deficiencies, things that are going to cause rents or tears in the etheric, or cause it just to not connect properly, and for there to be some sort of congestion or just something that's going to prevent these points of light from connecting, either within the body. Well, certainly if they don't connect within the body, then we're going to have difficulty connecting out with our environment and responding with our environments in a real meaningful manner as well. And so, again, the things that might form deficiencies in the etheric start with, number one, stress, anxiety, fear, and the confusion and uncertainty that are derived from these out of balance states of these conditions of perception that are a little out of kilter and not representing a balanced relationship between, again, this electromagnetic or etheric and our emotional and mental nature, which we can't neglect either. But again, concentrating on the definite aspects of the etheric and what causes deficiencies. Again, stress and anxiety are going to disrupt this energy flow, this electromagnetic capacity that we have as humans. And diet is certainly a contribution to a negative energy flow through the system. If we don't have good, clean, healthy food and water that's wholesome and nutritious for us, then that's going to certainly suck our energy, and we're going to not have the vibrancy and the potency and the vitality that someone that has a good, solid diet, and again, drinking healthy water, non-fluoridated if at all possible, things of that nature. And so, like all of the things that Jeff Contreras has been talking about, if you've been catching his shows about these health-related issues, they all intimately tie into the etheric body. And so all these things that you can do to improve your lot as far as diets and with supplements and things of that nature are going to, again, help this etheric to thrive and help it to be so that it can reach out and be in some sort of sympathetic correspondence with other individuals. And that is what we certainly have the capacity to be able to tap into. It is part of our inherent electromagnetic nature that we are able to reach out and communicate across distances just by this exchange of electromagnetic nature that, again, we have available to us as humans. And so another aspect would be the electromagnetic interference that we find through power lines that transmit electricity to homes and businesses and city to city and things of that nature. And also the cell towers that have been constructed, all this microwave transmission, electromagnetic frequency, disruptive type situations that are put into place for our mass communication systems that are interfering with this natural electromagnetic capacity and impeding the free flow of this energy, again, for us to be able to have this sympathetic rapport with other living things in our environment. As we're short-circuited and disrupted in this electromagnetic flow, again, this leads to the disease, unrest, uncertainty, fear, anxiety, all these things that prevent us from having that good cohesive flow with other energies and this good, healthy exchange of energies among, again, other living entities. And it's certainly a point of concern. Also, I want to get into the chemtrail activity. When you look up in the sky and you see these little planes shooting out these long white lines, and then they intersect and make the X pattern, and then they build the grid from there, and then and also not following the real, you see the planes, the normal flight paths, and you can see generally what the flight paths are for commercial planes. And then you see these crazy odd angles of flying being perpetrated by these different planes. It doesn't fit the existing flight paths. And it's just so out of the norm. It's so out of the norm with what's existing as far as normal commercial travel, and how we can see if we really consider this, there has to be some reason why this activity is going on. Why are these military planes just flying around all day, shooting out this white stuff out of the backs of the planes? And then once we see the X's marking the specific spots, then when that starts to dissipate and get into this swirly, strange looking, swirly, unnatural looking cloud activity, that is when the HAARP activity is enacted. And that's when programs that beam electricity from these different antenna arrays up into the atmosphere that enact with these chemtrails, because the chemtrails have metal particles, they have aluminum oxide, barium, and these different minute little metal particles that are highly reflective, and you are able to, by virtue of this HAARP system, these electromagnetic antenna arrays, shoot electricity into our atmosphere and cause it to reflect or react with these metal particles that are being put up in the chemtrails. And then the HAARP energy hits the chemtrails, the swirl activity happens, and the subsequent electromagnetic craziness takes place. And there's this disruption of normal electromagnetic flow that would be naturally occurring. And so what is the reason for this chemtrail activity, and why now in this day and age? Certainly, people have been complaining of getting sick over this emissions from these chemtrails, and that it's causing upper respiratory conditions because of this metal flux getting in your lungs, and they just wreak havoc with the system, and so they cause many different illnesses in different people. It's been pretty widely reported across the world, for that matter, not just here in the States. And this is a very pervasive program. Again, not here just in the States, but worldwide we see existing this program to spray this spew out of the back of these planes, and then subsequently the electromagnetic HAARP activity that tweaks the metal flex and bounces off of them, and again just wreaks havoc electromagnetically in any environment in which this takes place. Weather modification certainly is a portion of this, and we can see how when they HAARP, traditionally there is no rain, and it's difficult to have precipitation in that environment. And it's setting up currents where weather is affected in one area, so subsequently it's altered in another area. You can't expect to change the weather in one spot without it altering patterns, just like a domino effect elsewhere. And so that's another aspect of it as well. But these are the smaller, the health, because this is not the intention, I don't believe myself, of these individuals behind these programs to just strictly make us sick. That's just a minor aspect of it that's kind of just an incidental aspect of it for the most part, I tend to feel. And then the idea of the weather manipulation is certainly quite important. But again, there are other means to do weather modification. And so that also, I think, is a secondary concern when it comes to chemtrails. The main thing I feel that is going on with this chemtrail activity is this disruption, this electromagnetic disruption when the HAARP stuff is enacted. This just wreaks havoc again on our electromagnetic environment. And so our natural inherent capacity to be able to reach out again and exchange energy by means of being electromagnetic beings and being able to have this, again, sympathetic rapport between different living individuals, and intuitively having, again, some kind of coherent flow, and that would allow for more exchange, a higher level of exchange, and other aspects that would be able to be more enhanced in this particular time. And then we can see certain key components of our evolutionary process right now that are really exponentially changing and speeding up, and this global effect that we see taking place is part and parcel of our etheric nature becoming more prevalent and more activated, and the emphasis, quite frankly, of our consciousness is shifting from this dense physical nature of our physical vessels to the etheric more so and more so. And this is a key component to future opportunities for, again, enhanced intuitive capacity, enhanced ability to exchange energy and have this, again, cohesive, sympathetic response among living entities on this globe, and also our ability to have a telepathic rapport. We have inside of us a latent capacity for telepathy, and it's as we become more centered in our etheric nature, as evolution is allowing, and this is a right and proper part of our evolutionary unfoldment, that we find ourselves in this position now, moving out of the densest state of matter and finding ourselves on the upswinging arch back into a more spiritual living condition, getting into a more golden age, an age of enlightenment that is all coincident with a lot of synchronicities that are taking place that are all meeting now in this moment in our evolutionary process on this planet. And so we're garnering much attention and interest from many areas. And that is why things seem to really be kind of coming to a head in many different areas in some people's estimations now, and that we see, again, a lot of things that seem to be really heading, pushing forward at breakneck pace, and things are just coming out left and right, that things that have been hidden for a long time are becoming more prevalent and coming to the surface, and just different things are becoming more apparent, and things are seemingly very negative overall to many people, because again, these things have to come to the surface and be dealt with so that they can be eradicated, essentially, and we can move on to a greater, larger understanding of energy exchange and opportunities that we have available to us. When we let the chemtrails and things like that tweak us out to the point where we lose it in traffic, or we fly off the handle at the workplace, or things like that, we are very susceptible to that type of activity. When the chemtrail things are very heavy, those days are more so, they're more conducive to just people having bad days when you have this energy flux is going on, because it disrupts our system. It short circuits our natural ability. And so I would caution folks, when they see this activity, they see the heavy chemtrail stuff, and they see the subsequent swirly effects going on, the HAARP, emphasis going on, that we really, strap it in and really pay attention and really try to keep on an even keel, because there are all sorts of adversities. I mean, it's difficult enough in this hectic, rat race that we're forced to deal with, living in this city environment. That in itself is a challenge enough, and the financial, challenges that everyone is subject to living in this day and age. These things are challenging again enough for us, without having to be subjected to electromagnetic havoc and all these other things that are further taking us away from a capacity or ability to come together on common ground and to, again, have this cohesive exchange. This is really right on the forefront of our evolutionary process right now in this day and age. I mean, we're really seeing the dawn of this really coming over the horizon, and it's quite apparent to a lot of individuals. Now, it's not apparent to a lot of other individuals. And some people, they don't see anything about this particular time that seems to be any different or more extraordinary than any other time in history. I myself can't really agree with that. It seems like, for my 2 cents, that a lot of individuals from various backgrounds are coming together, speaking about these different ideas, according to their own understanding, and phrasing things differently, what have you, but there really seems to be a group consciousness coming together in agreement on many issues related to exchange, evolution, awareness, expansion of consciousness, all of these concepts that would hopefully lead to opportunities for us to further our evolutionary unfolding for all men across the globe. And that we see real opportunities available coming up. It's just a matter of people, having the capacity to sense and see these things, and then after that to act on it. But I am becoming increasingly more aware of different, again, individuals and groups that are popping up all over the place, that are working in their own way to try to bring some expression along these lines and try to work together for healing capacity, again, exchanging of ideas, just working together and sharing and exchanging. We have a lot of opportunity available for that in this day and age, and right now in particular, it seems to really be something that's prevalent in the minds of a lot of individuals. And so I'm seeing that being played out, not just here in this area locally, but globally in many respects. And anybody that has friends, in other countries and things of that nature, the more you communicate with them, I think if you really are listening to what they're saying with a discerning ear, you'll find that these sentiments are being echoed from different individuals around the globe that are looking at things, that they're not blaming, let's say, citizens for a lot of the woes and a lot of things that are going on globally. They're more so looking at the leaders, and they're looking at placing blame and responsibility in its proper place. And so these kind of evolving ideas are allowing us to exchange, again, more so globally. And the more we can overcome different aspects of this electromagnetic interference, whether, again, it be through power lines, cell towers, chemtrail activity, HAARP manipulation, all of these different things that in this day and age are infringing on us and that are, again, shortchanging us and short-circuiting our capacities. Science will allow for different technology to become more acceptable in the future. There are different individuals globally that are working with so-called cold fusion, over unity gain. There are different terms that describe the capacity to basically break down hydrogen and oxygen and derive infinite energy from this room temperature capacity. And these are the kind of things that are going to allow us to tear down these power lines and have refined methods of communication. And ultimately, as these things come up and rise and become more prevalent in society, our inherent nature to be telepathic and to exchange are going to be more and more prevalent and more meaningful and real. And so these opportunities are right, again, on the horizon. I really see that the implementation of some of this new technology that is practically harmless or harmless, completely harmless to our environment in many cases, and the ability to take care of a lot of like nuclear waste and things of that nature, and all of the computer trash that gets thrown in landfills, old electronics, these cheap electronics that just get tossed in landfills, these $30 DVD players and things of that nature that are just, use them for a few months and toss them. Science will allow for us to reverse some of the damage we've done, and that we'll see that in short order. It's just that the entrenched establishment, based on petrochemical society, is still firmly entrenched, and until the petrochemical can be the dinosaur that it needs to be, and go back to that way and be subjected to or relegated to its proper place of just history, then we're still going to have difficulty. But I do see a time coming up quite shortly where this technology will be available to us, and we'll be able to make use of clean technology that will be very inexpensive, very abundant, and this will allow us, and opportunities for clean water, things of that nature as well. I really see right on the horizon, the science is there, it's just a matter of it being implemented. So there has to be a radical shift in existing, again, the petrochemical. Some people speak about the military-industrial complex, but really I think the petrochemical drives the military-industrial even more. It's the basis behind that. It's the oil that greases the mechanism of the machine. And so when that way changes and we find different, more non-intrusive and non-invasive means to fuel things, then we'll be able to reap the benefits in short order. And again, I see that right on the horizon. Another thing that would be preventing it is just the ignorance of individuals that they're not aware of these things, or they would just discount them out of hand because they're not aware of the valid science that is involved in this research and these processes. And so once the learning curve is passed, and this is, physics is altered to take in these different concepts, and then we'll see an opportunity for, again, our etheric nature to really be emphasized, and our energy, the energy that underlies our dense physical, will have an opportunity to be exemplified and uplifted, in our consciousness, as I spoke of earlier, will be centered more so and more so within this electric, etheric nature. And so we'll have opportunity, by virtue of that, to be much more, the intuition will be much more at our disposal. And again, the telepathic capacity will be much more at our disposal. And so we'll be able to reap the benefits of these communication capacities that we have inherent and latent inside of us. And the internet is certainly a good example of something that's a step towards that, as we consider computers and the way that these lines of communication, encircle the entire globe. And even the wireless aspects of the internet is just one step further. The concept of a wireless communication is the basic key component to telepathic capacity. And as we take on this ability, or as the technology mirrors more so our own inherent ability, we're going to see our own inherent ability emphasized more so. This is just only a natural outcropping of that science, that as the science evolves, our ability to evolve our own physical nature, it's all intimately tied in. As we evolve, the science evolves, and as science evolves, we're able to. The law that speaks of technology increasing every so often, that I don't remember the name of the law, but there's a law that speaks of technology doubling or tripling every so often, and that tends to tie in with that. All these evolutionary opportunities are right here on the horizon. It's things are preventing the different little pockets of individuals from coming together more and more, but I see also opportunities for that to take place as well. So there's definite challenges that are preventing the different groups from coming together in a real meaningful way, but I think in short order we'll see that capacity to be able to exchange and communicate more so will be ours as it becomes of more interest to more individuals. It really is, it has to start with an individual to have a group endeavor. And so as the hearts and minds of individuals are fired up, then they can become part of a group effort, and these groups can intermingle, exchange, and there can be a natural outpouring or outcropping from these simple group endeavors. And I would also ask that people do not take for granted the capacity of small groups of individuals meeting together with a positive, focused intent to try to implement some form of change. And there are more groups than you can shake a stick at that have cropped up. Certainly within the last 50 years, if we look back, we can see just a tremendous amount of global exchange and how this has played itself out. And just it's whether it be something as simple as just people that have an interest in different hobbies and things like that, enthusiasts that can communicate with other people around the globe about their specific, whether it be music interest or airplanes or something like that they have an interest in. Again, we see this exchange taking place more so, and we'll have the ability to take advantage of that and access that. This energy body that I spoke of, this etheric body, it's when we concentrate on our health and our attitude, this also ties in, because if we keep a positive attitude, that is also something that's going to keep this energy potent and vital. When we get distracted and we get down and we get depressed and we allow ourselves to just get caught up in a lot of woe is me thinking, or just getting caught up in different daydreams and things like that, we tend to take energy away from ourselves, and we tend to weaken our etheric nature. So we can do a lot of things just by simply getting our hearts and our minds in order, and then everything else tends to follow suit. But the energy that we have inside of us has the capacity, again, to be more emphasized, and simple things that we can do to keep the focus and keep this energy vibrant and vital. These simple things are. We have to build them in, just like anything, just like weightlifting or things of that nature. Or meditation is another example too. You can't just do it once every 6 months or just periodically. You have to keep building in and building in, like a discerning attitude, for instance, or an attitude that is not being distracted by every little thing during the day. The more, again, we just make ourselves a point of focus, the more we're able to take advantage of what the etheric can offer for us. The energy of the etheric body is tied into our highest aspects, the highest spiritual kernel of our nature. The very will aspect of God is tied into this energy network. And so when we understand and make use of this energy to the fullest extent, then our nature, by virtue of that, kind of steps in line with the will aspect or the father aspect, and again vitalizes that etheric nature and puts us in a place gives us a capacity, or allows a capacity to flow forward that we all have, that can make these exchanges a bit more real. And again, it's just a matter of keeping that point of focus that allows this energy to do its thing. And then we'll see the subsequent results of that, the synchronicities that arise, the things that come into one's realm, comes into one's life, basically, come into our existence by virtue of keeping this etheric honed and vital and intact. Because this electromagnetic nature of ours, as we allow it to exchange with other electromagnetic natures, then we can again, we can use this etheric nature to its optimum capacity, and we can be intuitive to the degree that we are meant to be. We can be telepathic, and that embryonic capacity can start to unfold in mankind, as it's starting to do already anyway. If people, I'm sure many people can attest to that, and other people in short order will see their own telepathic nature, and again, synchronicities and things of that nature, meeting certain individuals, certain circumstances coming into our awareness, different consciousness awareness aspects, consciousness expansion awareness aspects that are part and parcel of keeping the etheric focused and having it vitalized. It's kind of like having the spidey sense. That's a very good analogy. When we have that spider network of light, these fibers of light intact, and we're able to, trust that electromagnetic impulse, that intuitive impulse, and that, again, the spidey sense, then our environment, we're able to be more sympathetic and in rapport with our entire environment, and we're just more aware in general. And this will allow one to, for instance, drive around, and if you're driving in your car and you're more cognizant of, for instance, police activity and things of that nature, you don't have to be so nervous, because you'll sense, you'll be more intuitive. And this is something that has to be, it's subjective, and it has to be an experiential and experimental thing that each person has to find their own ability and try to hone their own capacity. But I've been able to emphasize it more so in my own expression and to my own satisfaction, and I feel that other people can also use that capacity, again, focus and hone in on this energy that we have, this energy nature, and have that spidey sense activated at all times. It's not a means of, or it's not a place of, or state of being anxious and nervous. It's just a state of being prepared. And it's a calm state as well. It's a calm state of a rational state of just a more knowing, much more knowing, allowing, understanding place. And fear can't easily intrude on that, and that's a key component. Fear does not easily intrude when the etheric nature is vitalized and intact. It repels fear, it repels anxiety, it repels the unease, and it keeps us in a battle-ready, focused condition in which worry can't penetrate. And again, focus. We can stay focused, we can appreciate the intuitive capacity, we can appreciate our ability to exchange. Again, we can appreciate our electromagnetic kinship with all things. When we can have that kinship and understand, again, the benefits of it, again, it has to be something that we all experiment upon in our own lives, because what I say has taken place in my life, I can't readily prove all the things that have taken place in my life, and it may not have meaning for all people for me to just, spew out accounts from my own experience. In this day and age, this is a day of experimentation. This is a day and age of living life, not sitting on the sidelines, not being a spectator, but jumping in with both feet. Now, not jumping in without having understanding. We have to have discernment, focus, and understanding. And then as we jump in, with our full effort, we can jump in with a full effort, an intelligent effort, and we can use discernment, and we can get much more done. Also, when we are able to have our intuitive capacities intact, we don't expend as much energy, because we're not running around with our heads chopped, like chickens with our heads chopped off, just, oh, I've got to do this, oh, I've got to do that, and things just tend to seem a little bit more, they come a little bit more easily. things just, the whole grid seems to kind of open up and make more sense, and seeing from, you may not necessarily see things from point A to point B, you'll see the whole comprehensive picture more so, and that's part of an etheric vision or etheric capacity that one can build into oneself through meditative practice, and just getting getting a sense of balance and focus and discernment in one's life, just checking oneself through the day on a daily basis, building in this capacity, and we can reap the benefits, and we can share and exchange along these lines. Again, as we are electromagnetic, we share and exchange, and we can build this rapport that will allow for much more opportunity. And all these idealistic endeavors can find root in the physical manifestation. All these flights of fancy and all these things that seem just too utopian right now to us can really start to take root in a real meaningful manner. And as we share and exchange and understand the abilities and capacities that we truly have, we can make good on the promise of the ages, and this enlightenment that's ours to take advantage of can really be focused and honed like a spotlight, and we can really get a lot of good done. We can focus on all the issues that need to be focused on, and we can get real work done. And that this is unfolding. It's just a matter for us to understand and take advantage of it. Everybody has their own pet projects that they're interested in, their own inherent capacities. We can make that capacity a full capacity, or we can, be subjected to sickness, disease, unrest, fear, anxiety, all these things that keep us disempowered and keep us less than we could truly be. I'm into human potential. I think we as humans have tremendous potential, and I want to always emphasize each and every show that I do some point of human potential, human evolution, human capacity, human opportunity, and how we can all exchange and share and grow together. It's up to us, It's these utopian ideas are right again. Many of these utopian ideas are right on the horizon. It's just a matter for us to this shared ideal to take root more, more on the concrete, physical realm. And these things are happening. A lot of people are getting from the ideal state and getting past just ideals into real active work. And I'm quite confident by a lot of the activity that I am either involved in or aware of that's leading to these unfoldings. And different opportunities are available out there. Many opportunities are available. It's just up to individuals as to whether they want to take advantage or not. Let me go ahead and grab a call or two. Let me see what's going on this evening. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Hello, caller. Not hearing you very well, caller. Maybe, Chris, maybe you can grab the television volume or something. Or not hearing anything. You're not hearing anything either? Okay. Caller, you on the air? Okay, let's try another one. Hello, caller, you on the air?
Hello?
Yeah, how are you there? Go ahead.
I just want to say that that's absolutely the most positive thing that I've heard from anyone in a long time. And I just want to thank you, and I would like to know what the source is for your thinking about etheric energy.
There is a lot of information, so-called esoteric information, which esoteric just essentially means hidden, which the energy aspects of us is a hidden aspect of our human nature. But again, much that's written by so-called metaphysical authors throughout time, so-called occult literature, which again, occult simply means hidden. Religious texts, if you look at the symbology behind the religious texts, again, as I spoke at the beginning of the show, the golden bowl is the term used in the Bible for the etheric body. There's much information. Also, psychological studies tie into this idea of our energy, latent energy in us, and the energy of thought and our emotional energy. And so a lot of different, I tie in a lot of different, I guess borrow from a lot of different areas to bring that together. But ultimately, I would bring my understanding from a metaphysical realm ultimately. And again, like ideas of meditation and things like that, that would allow for us to enhance this. And also it ties into the ideas of chakras and energy centers and things like that, that again are taught in different disciplines. There are many different, there's schools of yoga, and there are all kinds of different disciplines that emphasize this energy. And, it can be called chi or whatever. There are a million names for it. Orgone is another term for it. And there are many ways. Just, you see people doing the Tai Chi, mostly the Asian folks, well, it's certainly made its way to the West in this day and age. But, that's just another example of people concerned with energy exchange. The Falun Gong movement, much persecuted movement that is based on the idea of exchange of energy and well-being through, again, doing the Tai Chi type meditation, or not Tai Chi type activities and meditation activities, and how you meld those systems together for well-being. And there's so much talk in this day and age of holistic well-being, wholeness, health, the homeopathic, all these terms, that are more relevant in this day and age, that tie into this idea of keeping that energy vital, keeping it intact and keeping it flowing to its utmost ability. And so there are many ways we can do that. Simply, the simplest is avoiding stress and keeping a positive attitude. That's also the most difficult, but nonetheless, if we can master that fine dance, that fine walking the razor's edge, essentially, between these two states of existence, between the dark and the light, or whatever, we can make our way through relatively unscathed. So it's really up to us as to whether we want to focus and hone that energy, or whether we just get swept up in the current and get carried away and can't focus that energy in any one real good area. If we can focus, we can get a lot done. That's the whole concept and key behind the idea of focusing. That is the means by which we get things done. That's the means by which an idea expresses itself into some activity, by focus. If we just think about things once in a while or what have you, we'll lose sight. But when we focus and really stay persistent on different ideals or different objectives that we may have, we can really pull through and get things accomplished. And the enthusiasm behind that can be quite contagious. And when we see people leading by example, and that's what I hope to do by my own humble offering through this show and through my life expression, for that matter, is to show that this system is valid, this esoteric science system is valid, and it can be implemented for the betterment of individuals so that they can better the environment and help uplift the lives of individuals around them and globally, ultimately. This idea of a living, lighted exchange of energy surrounding the entire globe, points of light that are people that have made the commitment to vivify their light, to let their little light shine in their own area, and to be beacons among the sons of men. As we see these beacons light up and enact and activate globally, again, this whole living lighted system can cover the entire globe, and we can make much use from that exchange and gain much benefit from that sharing and that exchange of energy. This stuff takes place. I mean, these things may sound like, fanciful platitudes and things of that nature, but the science behind this idea of light exchange is very valid. This is the same idea that all the great painters, artists, philosophers, poets, statesmen, orators, everyone throughout time has been able to emphasize their own light capacity and been able to, and they have been beacons or have stood out head and shoulders among the other men at their day and age because of this capacity. They were able to exemplify our inherent capacity to be brilliant, blazing, pathfinders and way showers for other humans. And the path from the past to the future is well lit, and we can look back and we can see the blazing, fires that have been lit and continue to stay lit, and that they continue to fire. It's just like the Olympic torch. You pass it along to the next person, and they pass it along to the next person, and that light is exchanged and offered from one individual to the next, and it can be offered from group to group. And this conflagration, this burning of this will and this desire to uplift humanity can take real root. It is in many ways. If people would just open their eyes and see it and get past the negative programming, get past a lot of the media hype, and just look at your fellow man, look at your neighbors and see, what they're all about. That's the key to this, is to get past a lot of the hype, and we'll get back to the heart, and we can really move forward with some firm, on firm and common ground with understanding, with real cooperation and understanding. It sounds simple again in some ways, but it's not in others, and but it is something we have a real opportunity to take advantage of if we want to do that. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm real into like black metal.
Mm-hmm. Which bands?
What?
What bands?
Like Dark Tranquility type bands. But I'm not real sure, like, I believe in, like, the things they say and everything, but I'm not really sure if I don't know, exemplify what they say.
Well, I'll put it in this terms. When I was growing up, I was full-fledged into metal. As a matter of fact, I was thrashing out a little bit before the show, even today when I was at the home place. So, I listen to that stuff on occasion that would be considered very brutal or very discordant or very unpleasant music a lot of times myself, and I was, raised on that stuff, so I have a real sentimental feeling for a lot of that real, not so savory music, old Venom and stuff like that I just adore. But, growing up, listening to that kind of stuff, I was raised Catholic, so I kind of have some guilty feelings. I did have guilty feelings coming up with some of that stuff, thinking that this was blasphemous to listen to this. But ultimately, it helps you to get a truer understanding, a fuller comprehension of who we are, because every human has negative capacities or qualities and positive qualities. When we acknowledge and understand the negative, the black metal aspect of our being, we don't have to embrace it necessarily, but we have to acknowledge it and understand it for what it is. And then
we. Question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Like, what do you feel about Slayer's music?
Slayer?
Slayer.
To me, they're kind of like kiddie stuff compared to some of those guys in Norway that are, killing their fellow bandmates. It's pretty extreme and brutal.
Like who?
Sorry?
Like who?
I can't remember. There was an incident. I have an article somewhere I could dig up, but there was some black metal bands in Norway. One member of a band killed it, and then there was an incident where a sheep was slaughtered, and the head of the sheep was thrown out into the crowd, and they cracked some innocent guy's head open with this sheep's head. So that kind of stuff those aren't the most savory aspects of this. These things are coming out through this music, but to acknowledge it, I think, is important, and you'll be able to grow from it ultimately. To recognize the dark aspects only helps to emphasize the light, because the light will be that much more light, when you understand its relation to dark things, and that's part and parcel of having discernment, being able to listen to. And again, Slayer to me is almost like kiddie stuff with their lyrics. Those guys are not really, their lifestyle is not in that stuff. Some of these bands live that lifestyle. They're into the black occult
like
ritual.
Deicide.
Yeah, them to a certain degree. I don't want to really get too carried away on the metal thing, because I will get carried away easily. You don't even understand. So I have to let you go on that note. But yeah, it's just a way for us to look at a contrast. When we see this extreme going on where somebody burns an upside-down cross in their forehead, it gives us an example, perhaps, of what not to do. But again, it's just a contrast. We see, when we look at the dark, we can accentuate the light. The light is that much more light, and that's as simple as that, really. But, I don't discourage people from listening to extreme music. Just keep it in the proper context, and you'll be fine. Hello, caller, you're on the air?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I have a question. If you have kind of like a tear in your etheric body or something,
Yes.
because of some trauma or something, how do you seal that up? Or
I would say, but just by having a positive mental attitude is going to be the first thing you want to do, and restoring your vitality. It starts with an act of the will, and as energy follows thought. If we want to, vivify that aspect of ourselves, we have to just focus our thoughts, first of all, to make ourselves whole and to, again, stave off the negative fear and anxiety. When we let in fear, stress, anxiety, all those things, that's going to further exacerbate the trouble. So we have to do the preventative things with attitude and having the right state of mind and having our emotional nature in check to revivify and patch up the tears and things of that nature. In extreme cases where there are tears, you find examples of obsession or possession and things along those lines. Those are the far extreme examples. Most people just suffer disease or uncomfort, but you can be picked on if your etheric is weak. And so that's why the stronger people are spiritually and low stress, good diet, good health practices, just being a good person in general and being a sharing, loving person, these things keep the etheric intact and keep it vitalized, and ignoring our opportunity and obligation to our fellow men and other living entities is what, sucks that energy from us and keeps it weak and keeps it not, to its optimum capacity. So just avoiding the stress and having our will in alignment with the will of the Father as much as we're able to, and instilling that quality and capacity of joy in each moment if we're able to. That's the living in the now kind of concept of experiencing a joyful condition irrespective of circumstances. It's a difficult place to be, but it's well worth our trouble. Let me try to grab this last call quickly. Hello, caller, on the air. Hello?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you feel about the Messiah, Jesus?
I feel
where
like
he stands.
Jesus was a man that merged with the so-called Christ for several years' work, and that allowed the opportunity for an unfoldment in our evolutionary process that will still play out into the Aquarian Age, so-called. For the next 2,000 years, we have the opportunity to take advantage of that energy, and so Jesus the man was the pattern. Christ was the power that allows us the capacity inherent in our humanity for further expression of evolutionary expansion. And that's, in a nutshell, that answer to that question. I want to thank everybody for taking the time and trouble and opportunity to view this evening. I want to remind folks about Mike Hansen needing some help with putting up signs and just volunteering in general. He's running for County Constable Precinct 4, upcoming very shortly. March 9th is the primary. I want to encourage folks to check out Jeff Contreras, Therefore I Am, every Tuesday night at 10 on Channel 16, and also Chris Athanas, Reality Expander, every Thursday night, Channel 16 at 10 p.m. I want to thank my producer, Chris, for commanding the helm of the Starship Esoterica. And want to just thank everybody again. Thanks, Austin, for taking the time and opportunity to view. And I would encourage everybody to try to, optimize your etheric. Try to uplift yourself and try to have that positive, discerning mental attitude that will just only help enhance our whole experience here. A whole opportunity to share and exchange. We can do that if we just focus and try. Thanks, Austin. Have a good evening. Take care.